Welcome to.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Let's start that over. We started early. Welcome to Sensible Prepper Live Prepper School Volume 22.
Deuce, deuce.
Deuce, deuce, man. We've gotten quite a few things. If you want to see the other episodes or escapades or whatever, you can go to. We have a playlist of all the different Prepper School, and they're all streamed. But there's a lot of great information in there, so I highly recommend you checking it out. We're going to be talking about what are we talking about? How to prep on a budget.
How to prep on a budget.
I had a Joe Biden moment for a minute.
Stretch your dollar till it bleeds.
And we really appreciate Robbie Wheaton for being here from Wheaton Arms. Does custom gun work, has a great line of Glock aftermarket parts and barrels, and their flat face trigger is the best. But he also has a YouTube channel. Check it out. Robbie Wheaton or Wheaton Arms.
Yes,
you
sir.
can look either one and check out Robbie's channel. He and I have been buddies for years and years. And so I finally twisted his arm to.
And with all of my experience with gunsmithing, it really gives me a unique perspective on doing firearm reviews.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that I see that other reviewers may miss just because of my background.
Right.
So I've been having a really good time with it and enjoying it. It's been really fun.
It's funny, like a gun that I have that somebody else is having problems with, and I'm saying, I don't have a problem with this. And I'll say, what have you experienced? And you can say, well, we have had a few of these come in the shop.
Yep.
There's a lot of great things. But yeah, check out Wheaton Arms or Robbie Wheaton YouTube channel. And it's just a great resource, and we really appreciate him being here. Also, Sarah Max over there answering questions. Guys, she's asking questions. She's taking your questions. It's been one of those.
You want to struggle bus a little bit today?
Struggle bus.
Take 3.
But we anything you have, some questions or whatever, you can go ahead and start asking questions if it's something pertinent to survival, and she'll go ahead and get those down, and we're going to take a break. We also appreciate Sportsman's Guide for sponsoring today's episode. You get $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, no 00, and they're a great resource.
Yeah, check out their Buyers Club as well. Their Buyers Club, you'll get additional savings as well as free shipping on anything over $49.
Yeah, and we
use it.
Yes,
sir.
A lot, and it really applies to what we're talking about today.
Yep.
Which is one of the points. Okay, prepping is expensive. And this is one of Robbie's babies. I asked him, I said, what do you think we ought to do? Robbie came up with this outline.
Yep.
So we really, I'm really looking forward to going through
this is one of the things that a lot of people ask me. I get phone calls, I get emails all the time about, I'm trying to prep, but I'm trying to prep on a budget. What are some things that I need to be doing? And I just thought this would be a great episode for us to put together.
Yeah, I agree. Because, prepping is expensive.
Yep.
It's just expensive, and it's overwhelming. So I think if you can line this up, even if you're not on a strict budget, I think this will help, because again, there's so much to do,
right,
and to be prepared. And, and guys, regardless of the environment that's going on around us, you should be doing something toward prepping. But if you're not doing something now, if you're not motivated at this point to do anything, I don't know what will be. It's amazing what's going on. And guys, it's just time to get things together. So we're going to stretch your dollar and hopefully help you in some way. It's funny. I have college kids. I have school age kids that get in touch with me, say like,
Yep.
Mom and Dad, they're not really into prepping, but I'm really worried about it. What can I do? And especially college kids, I have limited space. I really want to do something. And this applies not only to those people, but it applies to anyone.
That's right.
Okay. So the first thing is mindset, is get your mindset right. Don't dwell on all the problems, dwell on solutions, dwell on things, get your mindset right, do your research. That's what you're doing now. You're getting information, go ahead and read some good books, fairly inexpensive books. There's a lot of books out there. I did a list of books, but I really feel like it's important to build a library. Now, many of you will say, well, I got my books right here. Internet can go out, self-service can go out. Don't depend totally on this. This is great while we have it. Great. And I highly recommend you use it. You're using it right now in the computer or whatever.
Well, it's awesome to have print books. It's easy to tab them. It's easy to refer back to them. A lot of times, it's great to have stuff on your phone, great to be able to read things on your phone. But a lot of times it's hard to refer back to a certain page or a certain chapter in a book.
Right.
Where when you've got a hard copy book, you can take that hard copy book, you can put tabs in there, you can label your tabs, and it makes it almost turns it into reference material for you at that point, to where you can refer back to a certain section about a certain topic and review it anytime you want to.
And that's not very expensive.
That's right.
But it's really important to get that mindset, to get that knowledge. But the other side of that is what you have already. Fixed blade knife. You have some fire kits. You have a few things you've got set aside for your survival bag.
Yep.
Practice, get your skill up. And that's one of the big things we talk about a lot on here is make sure that you are working on things. Don't just get knowledge. Don't just do research.
That's right.
Practice.
You got to be proficient. Proficiency with everything that you have in your preps. Like you were saying, with whether it's fire starting, signaling, map reading, whatever, become proficient with it. And that doesn't cost you anything but your time.
Right. That's right. Okay. Now, one thing is, and I thought this was really good, is make a list.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of you guys are like, look, you need to make a list of the things that you need to purchase. Make a list. Think of everything you can think of and just make a list. One of the things about prepping is if you're not careful, you see that, oh, that'd be good. And you see this, oh, that's good. Oh, I need that rechargeable lantern. Oh, I need this, these chem sticks. I need food. I need to pile some food together. I mean, that is when it's last minute when you should be doing that. And it's really difficult because I review stuff on YouTube and people are all the time getting messages and saying, Sootch, you're killing me, man. You're killing my billfold. Look, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just showing people what's out there. Whether you buy it or not is you. Don't allow for this and your computer and the TV to sway you into just buying stuff. You need to make a list of your priorities. Your medical, your water, your food, your firearms, your self-defense things. You need to think about, heating and air, your rule of threes.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that's going to keep you and your family alive? That is number one. So you need to make a list of that and write it down, and then prioritize that list. Put that list in priority. So, the one thing is, there may be a really nice gun down at the gun shop that I have my eye on. And I'm on a budget and I'm not really prepping like I need to. Buy the medical kit first. Buy some extra food first. Now, if you don't have a gun, I highly recommend you going ahead, and that's a priority.
But, that's one of the really important things with making a list. When you go through and you make your list, you can really prioritize the things that you need versus the things that you want.
Right.
And when you're purchasing, you can literally go down that list 1 through 25 or 1 through 1,000, ever how many items you have on your list. The list is going to shrink and grow as you buy things, add things, take things away. Your list is constantly evolving, and you're constantly adding things. You're constantly taking things away. But if you have it prioritized in your most important needs to your most basic wants, then it's a lot easier for you to focus where you're going to be spending your money, especially if you're on a budget. You can go through there and you can say, okay, I've got to have this. This is my number one item. I have to have it. And when you prioritize things, it allows you to focus where you're spending your money, and you're not wasting your money on stuff that you don't really need.
One of the big things is water.
Mm-hmm.
And, the big Berkey system, that's one of the things that we use. And we highly recommend them. We're not sponsored by Berkey or anything. We should be, as much as we talk about it, but they are awesome. And we use them every day. We use them for drinking water. We use it for cooking. We use them for whatever, but it filters your water. Water is vital. Those are not cheap. They're stainless steel. They're a nice filter system. They're very easy and very convenient to use. But, they run about, I don't know, the prices have changed, but they're running under $300, I think, for the basic big Berkey.
Yep.
They're a little bit more we've got one of the Imperials. That thing's huge, but we use it that much.
Yep. I think the 4.5 gallon Imperial is about $850, and that's with 4 filters.
Right. And that'll filter out 12,000 gallons of water.
Yep.
Listen, you're going to buy that, or you're going to buy a new 1911,
mm-hmm.
or are you going to buy, a new pocketbook for the ladies, or you're going to go out to eat a number of times. And that, I'm getting ahead of myself. But the thing is prioritizing what's important. Listen, when I'm in a gun shop looking, or gun show, and I've got guns in front of me, I'm going, oh my goodness, I want to buy something. and I don't have basic survival water. I mean, you have 3 days without water. You need to get your water systems figured out. That is a major priority. Food is next, but food is not first. Food, you can live 3 weeks without food. So water is number one. Medical, number one. I mean, another number one, because these are all intertwined.
Yep.
Self-defense is vital. Self-defense is vital. Protect your food, protect your family. And so those things are very important. But if we have 10 handguns, we don't need another one if we don't have our water system. So prioritize and think about what you are spending on. I mean, and so everybody's on somewhat of a budget, but we all have expendable income. Make sure you're focusing.
Well, and that's a great thing with making a list is it allows you to really be able to sit down and say, okay, well, I've already got some firearms. I've already got some ammunition. So that one can move further down the list and be replaced with water or with food or with alternate power sources or whatever. Right. You can float things around on your list once you get the list made, and then it makes it a lot easier to prioritize things up and down the list.
Now, one thing that's just as important is inventory what you do have. I am notorious for seeing something and going, oh, yeah, I need that, and get home and I got 2 of them sitting over on the shelf somewhere. So make sure, find out what you do have. Take that and make it important to know the things you have, and then you make a list of those things so you can see. And so, I've got this, this, and this, and this. The one thing that we categorize, and this is what I do with all my preps, and we've talked about this a bazillion times, but it's important, is the rule of threes. 3 minutes you can live only 3 minutes without air, with 3 hours in harsh conditions. You have a power outage in the winter, 3 hours in harsh conditions, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, self-defense, and medical flow in between. They can happen anytime. That is your priority. Everything else is a sideline. Having a shovel is great, and it's something that's needed, but it doesn't supersede a medical kit. Going out and buying tools, going out and buying whatever. So you need to have it in those priorities. Once you get those done, then you can go out and start to buy what you want to buy in that way. So get a list of what you need, get a list of what you have, and then work it. Just work it, baby.
Well, and one of the big things is setting a budget. You've got to set a budget when you're looking at things like the Berkey. The Berkey's expensive, and it's something that you may not be able to just go out and buy one. You have to set a budget for what you want, and a lot of times you have to save for what you want to be able to get those bigger items, those bigger ticket items. And one of the things that we do is if there's something that we want, but we're not going to just go out and buy it, we'll take an envelope and we'll put X amount of dollars a week in that envelope of our expendable income that we have, whether it's $5 or $50. We'll put that in that envelope until we get to the point to where that envelope is full enough for us to be able to buy what we need to buy off of our next item on our priority list.
Right. And part of this, and it's one thing, it was funny when my YouTube channel first started, people would go, well, why do you have all those guns? How do you afford all that? Man, you must be rich. You must be rich. And I'm like, no, I've just, over the years.
That's right.
I don't go to Disney World every year. And of course, the way they're doing right now, I'll never go back. But I don't go to, out to cut down on going out to eat. Yeah, going out to eat's easy. But, it's expensive. Or, maybe going to the movies every weekend, or, going to a concert, or doing this or doing that. If I don't have my basic survival needs, I need to put that money into this. It's delayed gratification.
Yep.
Same thing with knives, guns, it's your stuff. Is make sure that you get the things that you need, delayed gratification. And then you're not spending as much money. We all have the things that we like. Oh, I like my Coke. I got to have my Coke all the time. I got to have, find ways if you don't have money. Now, another part of this is, and this is easy to do at this point, is if you need to find a part-time job. You're on a serious budget, but you're watching grocery prices go through the roof.
Yeah.
This is something that you've got to really consider, because grocery prices are going through the roof.
Well, that's one of those things that, even if you live in an apartment, you can do a little small balcony garden. If you have a small lot that you live on, you can do a small garden. Turn your flower bed into a garden.
Right.
Instead of growing roses and tulips, grow some corn and some tomatoes. And that's going to help. Even if you can't grow enough to sustain you year round, you can still grow enough to offset your weekly food costs, especially from mid to late summer.
Right. And it's more healthy.
That's right.
It's easier. But yeah, and if you have it, this is the time, guys. Time now is to put your gardens in.
Yep.
It's very important. Okay. Now, places serious budget.
Yes, one of the things my wife and I were talking about, backpacks for your bug out bags, your bug in bags, your get home bags. You're on a budget, right? Go to Goodwill. You can get used backpacks there for next to nothing. You can outfit every person in your household with a backpack with a get home bag that you pick up from a Goodwill for next to nothing.
All right. Boots,
absolutely. A lot of the stuff that you need to put into your get home bag.
rain jackets,
Boots, rain jackets, socks. I mean, there's just tons and tons of stuff that you can buy affordably without breaking the bank.
Right. Now, and then when you get to a certain point, you can always turn around and replace those things with something of more quality.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get ready to go to questions. So I just want to kind of throw that out there. But the other part is military surplus. Military surplus has been tested. It's been through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Sportsman's Guide is a great resource.
Absolutely.
They have a lot of military surplus. It's one of the things I probably buy more than anything there.
Absolutely.
You can buy your Wooby there. You can buy, sleeping bags. You can buy anything you can possibly imagine. And not only that, they have it from around the world. So there's just a lot of stuff. So military surplus is typically cheaper, and yet it's better quality than a lot of stuff that's out there, especially like at Walmart, and about the same price.
Thrift stores, secondhand stores, not just Goodwill, but there's tons and tons of thrift stores around.
Right.
You just hop online and just do a Google search in your area for thrift stores or secondhand stores. And they're, it's a great Saturday afternoon. You go out, you can check out the different thrift stores, see what they have. And it also gives you an idea of what stores kind of have what you're looking for, what stores don't. So then when you're going out and shopping again, you've got a better idea of what stores to go to first.
Now, I'll give you a pro tip. It's best to go to thrift stores that are in more higher income areas,
mm-hmm.
because a lot of those people donate a lot of stuff, and it's typically higher quality.
Yep.
Which leads us to yard sales. Yard sales are great, but go to communities that are affluent. Man, you can get some really cool stuff. And two, a lot of times their family members are climbers or campers or whatever,
mm-hmm.
and they have some really nice name brand items. Flea markets. Flea markets are great as well.
One of my favorites. There's nothing that I love more than going to the flea market and just
except the range.
Well, there's that. But going to the flea market and just checking out the stuff that they have, everything from, all of your garden supplies, your tools, firearms, ammunition, clothing. I mean, you name it, you can find it at the flea market. Leather goods, tons and tons of leather goods. So flea markets are one of my top places that I go to when I'm looking for prepping stuff.
Chickens,
Yep.
rabbits.
That's right.
Now, this is the danger. And listen, this is the danger, and it gets back to what we talked about. You need to still have a list when you're going. Now, sometimes with yard sales, you don't know what you're going to get. But flea markets have a pretty wide variety.
They do.
Be careful that you stay within that list of priorities. I can go to the flea market. I can come back with a whole bunch of stuff and have to spend a bunch of money.
Yep.
So, I need this. I need that. Same thing with just the internet. So make sure that you have a priority list. There may be something there that you see, I could use that, but I really need this first.
Yep.
So it also flows.
Absolutely. When you go to the flea market and you got your list with you, then it's very easy for you to prioritize. One, you can see what they have. You can see what's out there and see where it is on your list and where it is price-wise on your list. Is it something that you can afford or something that you can't afford? But then you can also prioritize it based off of the number that it is on the list. You go to the flea market, you find item number 1, and it's a great price and it's within your budget. You can pick it up. If you find it and it's outside of your budget, you may have to wait a couple of weeks before you're able to pick that item up from the flea market.
I've come by and bought it already.
Yep. And that's one of the downsides to the flea market is a lot of times it may be just a one of one, and you miss out on that deal because you're you don't have the financial means at that point to be able to pick it up. But here's the thing, you're always going to find something else at the flea market. That's one of the really good things about it. You may miss out on item number 1, but you may find item 2, 3, and 4 and have to pick up item number 1 a few weeks later.
All right. Okay. Facebook Marketplace, great place.
Yep.
We've bought a number of things. And then you have your friends. Sometimes, just friends. Robbie may have something that I need, and which we've done that a number of times. I may have something he needs, and you can find it. And typically friends will give you a really good deal.
That's right.
So don't miscount that. Also, there are things like Arms List, where they have local people, guns for sale in local areas, and you can it's kind of like a classified. You can look on classifieds. They're not quite as vital as they used to be,
right.
But they are there. But finding those kind of deals, you don't have to necessarily buy new.
Yep. One pro tip for Facebook Marketplace is to meet someone that you're purchasing from at a neutral location, be it a police department or a department store up front in a big parking lot where you've got a lot of people around.
All right, that's a great idea.
Yep.
Okay, if we have some questions, we're going to attempt to answer.
Military Medical Freedom asks, hi gentlemen, should preppers think about purchasing farmland and open space for long-term sustainability?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
If it's within your budget, absolutely.
Now prices, the land and property around here has gone through the roof.
Yep.
But yes, in fact, we just put in a large garden on our property that's much bigger than we've done before. So I mean, guys, with food prices and the scarcity that's coming, but we'll get into that too in a minute. All right.
Karina Gilbert asks, question, we live in an apartment on the Texas coast. What would you recommend to turn salt water into drinking water?
That's a major deal. That's something you just can't do with a filter system.
Yep. Right. It's
osmosis.
Yeah. Reverse osmosis.
Yeah. That's something they've been working on for a long time.
Jack Wagons United said coastal people make a saltwater desalination system $100 or less.
Well, that's not bad. Thank you. Thanks for throwing that in. That's awesome. In the comments, so check that out. Yeah, I mean, that is a big problem. Now, typically, though, being on the coast, there's usually backwater. There's and sometimes it's brackish, and you need to filter it, and I would pre-filter that, but I would look more toward not necessarily salt water, but you'd be a lot better off, honestly, kind of coming in a little bit in the in that area, if you can get there, and you got to carry that water. So yeah, it's a challenge because most people do live. The majority of the population lives on the coastlines or within a certain mile. So that's definitely something that's a challenge.
Big Tex Man 1968 asks, when do you think any food shortages will hit?
We're already seeing it here in our grocery stores. You go in and you may have to go to 2 or 3 grocery stores to get everything that you're looking for the week with food just because they don't have it. It's all your junk food is still there. You can still get your junk food, but like a lot of our fresh vegetables are really low or out of stock. Meats are really low or out of stock where we live. And the stuff that they have on the shelf, it doesn't last long. They'll put it out and then it's gone within just a little bit.
Well, and the prices are going up as well. There's a local restaurant here where for years it's been $5.99 cheeseburger, fries, drink. I mean, in last year, $5.99. It's a great deal. I was going by it yesterday, $7.99. And you're going to see this all over the place. Food prices. Girl bought that's in our prepper group said she went and bought some coffee. It already gone up $2 for a pound of coffee. So there's 2 things about the shortages. Number one, they're going to raise the prices because of scarcity, and number 2, there's logistic problems of truckers and different things with fuel prices higher. So we're going to see a higher price, but also, it's just I think in the next coming up soon, they're having the wheat that's coming up, and Russia and the Ukraine produce a majority of the wheat, especially for Europe in that area.
That's right. Outside of the United States. Yep.
So, we're going to see it. And the thing is too, is there are going to be some things that we'll probably still be able to get. It's going to be other things that are going to be holes that we're not going to be able to fill. But you know, the other part of it is who knows when it's really going to get really bad, like it is in Venezuela. When you go into a store and all they have is meat that's out of date or it's very sparse. Hopefully, we won't see something like that.
Morgan Ham asked, do you know of any good book to have to learn more about the use of Mylar bags for long-term food storage?
There's a lot of information out there. I know that the actually the Mormon preparedness manual, they have a really nice because they've been doing this for a long time. That is a great resource, but I don't know of a book that would specifically, but they're out there. What I would do is just do some search on Google, see what you can find.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure of a specific book that talks about just specifically Mylar bags.
Yeah, I mean, what we do is Mylar, and then we get the oxygen absorbers, throw them in, and then seal them up. But also vacuum sealing is even better. If you can get a vacuum seal, that is a great way. You can throw a oxygen absorber. You don't even honestly need to.
It's funny that you mentioned vacuum sealers. So I picked up at the flea market not long ago, brand new, still in the box, a Cabela's brand vacuum sealer that came with like a 1,000-foot roll of the plastic that it seals in. $100.
Wow,
$100 for the vacuum sealer. And like I said, it was brand new, still in the box, came with this huge roll of plastic. So, you know, it's just one of those deals that I ran across, and I've been looking for one for a while. They're like $450 new.
Wow.
And I picked it up for $100.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Gary Hernandez, Self-Defense and Urban Survival asks, question, do you also prep for your pets? And if so, what do you do to stretch the dollar when it comes to them?
That's a tough one because dog food will last so long. You know, I mean, it spoils like everything else. But, you know, yes, we do prep for our pets. We do. In fact, we just went to the store and we buy it up. I mean, we buy a lot. And we have a German Shepherd. He's a big one. He eats a lot, but not as much. Our Corgi eats as much as our German Shepherd. Yeah. But we have to watch that. But yes, pets are part of the thought process. You want your pets. And, you know, it's just one of those things. You know, you do what you can. And then you're going to end up feeding them typically with a lot of your food because you care about your pets. So.
But you've always got, if you run out of dog food, you can't get dog food. Dogs lived a long time on table scraps.
Right.
You know, the leftovers from your meal, you can pass them on to your animals. So
if you have scraps.
That's right.
Buy your food. Okay.
Luis Suarez asks, what's up, guys? Love the show. I listen to every episode. What's your opinion on steel jacket ammo, with ammo being hard to find? Sometimes it is a decent alternative to brass? ? Thanks.
Steel. Now, for me, I exclusively shoot steel with my AKs, my Soviet Eastern type firearms, even handguns. I don't have any problems with. I have had some issues with steel in some of the other type firearms that are typically brass.
Same way, like your AR-15s in 5.56 or your AR-10s in 308 or 7.62x51. I've had extraction issues, ejection issues with the steel cases, especially the older stuff that's got the lacquer coating on it.
Oh yeah.
If you get the chamber hot, the lacquer coating will actually melt off of the case into the chamber, and it will coat the inside of your chamber. And if you've got a round loaded in there and it cools just a little bit, it'll literally epoxy that case into the chamber, and you have to drive it out. So handgun ammunition, 9mm, stuff like that. Yeah, I use it all the time for my 9mm. It works great. 7.62x39, you know, it's the go-to for that. But I tend to kind of avoid it for my 5.56 and my 7.62x51 or 308.
Yeah, it's more higher pressures. Yep. But the new stuff they're manufacturing, though, is a little bit, it doesn't have the lacquer on it.
They use it's a polymer coating that they're putting on a lot of the newer stuff that doesn't seem to be nearly as bad with coating your chamber and is easier to clean out.
And it's just cheaper. It's cheaper ammo. Okay, we're going to take one more question and we're going to jump back on the list.
Paintball God 33 asked, probably early for questions. This was a little earlier, but will you guys ever do a video on apartment prepping? I'm trying real hard and could use more tips.
I think that's a great one. Well, that's probably one of our most frequently asked questions is I live in an apartment so I think that'd be a great one for us to look at.
I think so. that is something that's important because a lot of people do, and space is limited. So there are some things. So we'll address that for sure. We won't be here next week. I'm going to be at Tactical Response doing some firearms training, working on my skill. But
That's right.
We won't have it next week, but we will the following week, and that may be a good subject.
Absolutely.
Just
I think so
according
too.
if we can get everything lined up.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and go back to our list.
I'll work on that while you're out.
Yeah, you work on
getting
that.
You some recoil therapy.
That's a good idea. Okay. Now let me see what we got on the list. Oh, we've lost our. Okay. Here's one thing. You have projects around your place. Instead of calling someone or you're going out and buying something, maybe you can have some do-it-yourself projects. Do it yourself is cheaper. You get the materials. You can do some things. Just I mean, you've had people even that bring in guns for you to clean them. And so they're bringing them in for him just to clean them, and he's paying them. I mean, charging them.
Yep.
And I mean, just simple things like that. If there's some things that you can do them. Sometimes it's best to leave it to the experts, but on the flip side of that, it's a great opportunity now for you to start looking at learning how to do some plumbing stuff, learning how to do some carpentry stuff, learning how to repair your car yourself, change your spark plugs, your plug wires, your brakes, little things like that, and start building your knowledge base and working on your skills now while it's not critical. Right. Well, things, yeah.
Yep. So if you're say you've got a little plumbing project that you need to do at home, tackle it yourself. Listen, here's the thing. If you mess it up, there's always somebody you can call that will come and fix it.
Just getting them out there sometimes.
But think about if things were really bad and you had a plumbing project that you had to do and you messed it up really bad and there's no one to call. All right. So you can work on it now. You can do it now. You can learn those skills. Even if you have to call someone, stand over their shoulder and watch what they're doing.
Love that.
Ask them 1,000 questions while they're working. Be like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? What's the purpose of this? I messed this up. How do I fix it? And that way you can continue to build your knowledge base. And that's whether it's plumbing, carpentry, construction, destruction, whatever.
Well, and two, just repairing things while you can, like your steps or like things that are going on, potential problems. Go ahead and take care of those things. You're on a budget, but you're getting your house together. You're getting your stuff organized. And that's another part is just organization. Yes, I have a list of the things I have, which should lead me to do some organization because I got to find everything. But you definitely want to have things where you know where they are. There's nothing worse than running through your house going, where is that? I saw that somewhere. If I had it, if you need it. And so having your stuff together, knowing where it is, and having it well organized. And that's just part of, you're not able to go out and spend a lot, but take care of the things that you have.
Yep.
So let's go to the next point is maintenance, maintaining stuff. You can let things go. And unfortunately, we live in this disposable kind of economy.
That's
where
right.
You get something, oh, this broke, just throw it out. I'm going to get insurance on that, so it doesn't matter. Sometimes you can send things back and have them repaired instead of going out and buy something new. We're dealing with that right now with a really nice camera.
I wish that I could find a 1970s washing machine.
Really?
Dude, they last forever.
I think there's one in the ditch, like down in the...
I'll load it up on my way out.
Yeah, they used to build things that would last forever like that. But again, knowing where things are and then maintaining the things you have. Your car, guys, just keep your batteries cleaned and check it out and make sure that things are nice. You can do some things to get you better prepared that just don't cost any money. In fact, I did a video, 15 things you can do that are free for prepping. And, and it's on the list. You can just put free in the search and it'll pop up. But those are things, you're on a budget. So at least you're doing some of these things that you need to be doing. It's not always just buying. Sometimes it's taking care of what you do have. Because the thing is, you have your food set out, and let's say you buy it, and then all of a sudden your dates go out and your food goes bad. That's going to cost you extra money to replace it. So putting maintenance and thinking ahead of time and being organized, all those things are going to help you stretch your dollar even more.
And constantly saving. I mean, that's one of the biggest things for me is just putting money back to be able to for big ticket items with my prep stuff, or even if there's several things that I want to get, I've got the money put back to be able to buy it. So if I run across a deal on something, I have the money to be able to buy it when I see it.
That's right. Yeah, and that's a great point. That's like keeping some cash with you.
Mhm.
And again, you're on a budget, but keep some cash with you. If you come across something that's a really good deal, you may be able to get it then.
Right.
Whereas if you wait, it's gone.
That's right. Yeah, even if you take an envelope and you put $5 a week in it or $10 a week, and you don't touch it for 6 months, you're going to have several $100s in the envelope after 6 months. And some of these big ticket items that you need, you're going to have the money to be able to buy it.
Right.
So that money does add up over time.
One thing too is, guys, is you stop at the gas station, don't just run in and grab you a drink and some peanuts or a candy bar or a little something. Try to keep that. When I was a young man, I was in my early 20s. My wife and I first got married, and I took a little book, and every time, this is of course before cell phones and everything else, every time I'd stop by a store, I'd write down the price. And after a month, I went, holy cow, I am spending a lot of money at these little convenience stores. It really helped me. And then I got to where I saw the danger and I quit, and I didn't really miss anything. In fact, I'm healthier because of it.
When going out to eat is the exact same way. That is probably one of the biggest areas where we as Americans waste the most money, is going out to eat on a regular basis. It is so expensive.
It is.
You figure you're going to drop a family of 4, you're going to drop $100
easy
every time you go out to eat. And you do that twice a week. That's what, $800 a month?
Yeah.
That you spent just going out to eat 8 times.
And you don't have food and you don't have your water taken care of, and you wonder why you can't afford it. That's exactly, and two, when you do go out to eat, don't go nuts.
Right.
Plan to kind of eat a little different. Maybe have water to drink. Water's a great thing to have. I mean, now soft drinks and tea, it's like $2-3.
That's right.
To add on. And then when you have a family of 4, that's $12.
That's right.
So, and we've gone through those phases where Shannon said, everybody get water. And I'm like, no.
You think about it. If every time you want to go out to eat, you take that money that you would spend going out to eat and you put it in your envelope and you set it back.
Right.
You figure out about how much you spend as a family every time you go out to eat, and you take that money and you put it in your envelope and you just set it back. And you do that for a month. Don't eat out for a month. And then at the end of that month, look at how much money you've got in that envelope.
Right. That's right. Okay. Storage. Now, if you're on a budget, the one thing is you have a storage unit, or you don't have a place to put it, and sometimes those units can I remember one time we were moving, and we were redoing our house. We were adding on to our house, and we had to move a bunch of stuff into storage. And I remember it was in there for like 6 months because we kept waiting to get it, and there was nothing really that we needed in there.
Yeah. And
so finally I went and looked one day, and I thought, we're paying all this money every month for a bunch of crap that I don't even care about.
Yeah.
And I ended up loading it up and went to the Goodwill with it.
Well, I mean, that's it. If you haven't seen it in 6 months, you haven't used it in 6 months, other than your preps, it's probably not something that you need.
Right. Now, the other thing is, we talked about flea markets and yard sales and things like that. Have a yard sale. Have a garage sale.
That's right.
Make some money to be able to produce some income to be able to spend on other things. Plus, it'll free a lot of your space up.
That's right.
If you're not careful, we just accumulate
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so get rid of it. Like Robbie said, if you hadn't used it in 6 months, like my winter jacket, I don't use it for 6 months. Do I just get rid of it?
That's my opportunity to lose weight so I fit back in it in the winter. See,
motivation.
Right now, I've still got my winter coat on. So I'm working on my summer figure now.
But the thing is, again, is just looking for small areas and corners that you can cut, because you make so much. And again, we have a lot of disposable income that gets pushed through the cracks. So putting out and selling some things, going on the Facebook Marketplace.
That's right. Listing stuff on there.
You've got something that, it's been sitting around and you don't really know what to do with it. My big problem is I'll have something and it'll have value to it, but I haven't used it. And then I'm kind of like, well, get on eBay, there's sources out there to be able to get rid of stuff.
That's right.
And then it turns it into cash. So
don't sell it and be like, oh, I got another $100.
Secret.
And you go out to eat with it. No, take that money. You have to be diligent and disciplined when you're doing this. Take that money and put that money back in your envelope and put it away. Don't get that, that I've got to go spend this right now. That money's burning a hole in my pocket. Put it up. You all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about because you've all experienced that. You get a little extra money from something, you sold something or whatever, and that money is just burning a hole in your pocket. You have got to go and spend it on whatever. It doesn't even matter what it is. Don't do that. Be disciplined and put that money back. Put it in your envelope for some of your big ticket items that are on your list that as you're working down it, you've got the money to be able to buy it.
Oh, one thing I didn't mention, I should have, is eBay. eBay is actually a good resource for finding used, good quality stuff a lot of times.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's free shipping and you can get some decent prices on it. The problem with eBay is that you can get on there and just start buying.
It's a rabbit hole.
You've got to have some discipline, whether it's at the flea market, whether it's eBay, whether it's marketplace. That is why it's so important to have that priority list.
Absolutely.
If you need to get that Berkey, and I'm going to push that because water is so important. If you need to get that Berkey, it is an expensive thing to buy. And yet, you're on there. You can focus. You know what? I don't need to spend this because I'm saving for this. And delayed gratification has become something that's in the past for a lot of us.
Yep.
So being disciplined. I think it's Jocko Willink. And if you've never watched Jocko's podcast, he is incredible. And I have a t-shirt. It says, discipline is freedom. Discipline is freedom. I told my son a few years ago, he was, having trouble. He'd spend his money. He'd go out and blow money. He's in his early 20s and he get that check. And then he needed a set of tires. And it's like, hey, Dad, can you help me out? And didn't mind helping him out and did. But this is what I told him. I said, let me tell you something. When having having to replace a set of tires becomes a financial crisis, that's not good. When, the power bill comes up and that's a financial crisis because you've not managed your money right. I said, here's the thing. If and I always, when I was growing up, my mom and dad, you need to save, And I was like, oh, saving's boring. I hate saving, but the thing I found is when I had money in the bank, you have a lot of peace of mind. And so instead of buying all these trinkets, and this can go for whatever, buying all this crap, you have money sitting in the bank and that, we just had, our HVAC went out, which is a lot of money.
Yep.
It's not like a meltdown. You've got money in the bank and you're like, okay.
You've got your emergency fund set back.
Right.
You have to have the emergency fund put back. And it's like this wall back here behind you. It didn't just happen overnight. It's a little bit at a time. And that's the thing. If you save a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and don't ever think about that money. That money it's not yours. Okay. Even though it's not. That money is an emergency fund that's only to be used for an emergency, a legitimate emergency. Like you were saying, you blow out a tire on your car and you have to put a tire on your car and you don't have the extra money in your week to week budget to be able to put that tire on your car. That's when you can go into your emergency fund and take the money out to replace that tire. But you have that money set back. And that, like you were saying, that gives you a huge peace of mind. Think of the stress that it removes from your day-to-day life if you know that you have some money set back in case something happens to where you have to have some extra money.
Now, if you're working a job and you just don't have much, or you're on a fixed income and you just can't, again, sell stuff or get you a little part-time job on the side. If you can do that, a little part-time job. Yes, it's a pain in the butt. Yes, I don't want to have to go out at night and work somewhere. But if it'll get me to where I can provide for my family, even for a limited time, it's well worth it. And again, the job market's wide open.
Or even if the part-time job is just to allow you to put some money back into your emergency fund, put some money back into your prepping fund,
right?
And that's just your saving money for emergencies. then it's still going to put you in a better place.
Right. And two, one thing about prepping is, remember this, is everything you do. Let's say you go to the grocery store, you pick up some extra cans of beans or some bags of rice or whatever. You know, you might spend $10. You may go over here and buy some matches or some lighters, and you know, you're building these little these very things that are very much important. Essentials. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
But when you're getting these things, even though you're doing it a little bit at a time, and that's what I always recommend, it's just a little bit at a time, you're better off than you were the day before. And then over a short period of time, just like Robbie was using this as an example, you know, then you look back and you go, wow.
It adds up.
Wow. Okay, let's go to some questions.
One of my favorite examples is, how do you eat an elephant?
One-footed or one piece at a time.
One bite at a time. Yep. Absolutely.
Jeffrey Lester asked, have you considered freeze drying your preps for long-term storage?
Oh yeah, freeze dried is a great way to be able to do that. Of course, freeze drying, vacuum, and canning. The old-fashioned canning is a great thing.
As well as dehydrating.
Yeah, dehydrating. That's right.
Marilyn Brower asked, what prep food that isn't loaded with salt?
Well, if you're looking for, you know, processed foods, a lot of these they are high in sodium, but there are some that are more natural. There are some that are better for you. And in fact, my wife is the one really that I should ask about this, but we look for some food that really is more natural, and the way now it's a little more expensive typically, but you know, one thing is to buy some samples and check them out.
Yep. Look on the labels. You know, when we're buying canned goods for our stores, we always buy low sodium canned goods. That way we can minimize the amount of sodium that we're getting in all of our canned goods. Our vegetables from our garden, no sodium in everything that we grow. So everything that we package, everything that we can, everything that we freeze dry, everything that we just freeze, all of that is 0 sodium added for all of our preps out of our garden. But the labels, looking on your labels, looking at the amount of sodium that's in the product before you buy it when you're in the grocery store. It takes longer to do it, but it's going to allow you to build a lot better, a lot more sustainable food store by checking those labels prior to buying.
Mr. or Mrs. Potato Biden asks, are oxygen absorbers necessary when using mason jars and a food saver attachment for dehydrated food? Does anyone know?
If you do vacuum seals, they're not. Honestly, you put it in a mason jar, you tighten it down. I mean, it's going to be pretty solid.
Yep.
Now the pressurized can is going to get rid of all the air. But listen, years ago, I used to follow this one survival channel when I first started on YouTube, and these guys, they were storing stuff. They were in Idaho, I think, and they would take plastic buckets and they'd dump rice or they'd dump beans or whatever, and they just close the lid. They may put it in Mylar, they may not. They weren't using oxygen absorbers, and they had it in a shed outside that was hot in the summer, cold in the winter. After 10 years, they pulled those out and opened them. And they had discolored some. They lose some of their food nutrition. They do. Value. And they lose some of their taste, but they were still good. And they cooked it and they ate it. So, you know, yes, it's optimal to do it in certain ways. But really, when it comes down to an emergency, the best thing to do is just to get it and pack it, and then get your oxygen absorbers, and you can repack it if you want.
Yeah, I've never used the desiccant packs with any of my stuff that we do. It's not a bad idea to use it because it does soak up that last little bit of moisture or whatever that's in whatever you're packaging, but it's not something that is required.
Well, the oxygen absorbers are a little different. And you put them in the packs and it actually sucks the air.
Right.
So, you know, but keeping it dry, keeping it in a dark place, a cooler place, definitely that's also important.
Yep. Temperature controlled is always going to make your food last a lot longer.
Right.
Stephen Enholt asks, question, can expired water be filtered by, say, a Berkey to be able to drink?
Oh, yeah. Well, you think about it this way. Water is eternal. I mean, it's now the filtering system and the oxygen is. Yes, the oxygenization is, you know, you have the water goes up into the clouds, it comes down, it goes into the earth, it comes through the filter through the earth. but water is still water. And, one thing that a lot of people do is take water that's been stored for a while and they'll pour it into another container and they'll pour it back, and it actually oxygenates the water.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, unless water, I don't know how water would be bad necessarily without oxygen. Of course, you need to filter that water. That's important. You don't want those microbes with cryptosporidium and giardia and those things.
Well, and I think too, it's how your water's stored. If you have it stored in plastic containers, it's outside in the sun, it's getting hot, it's getting cold, that can cause some issues with your water. The plastic can break down. You can get microplastic particles in your water, which once again is something good you can run through your big Berkey, is going to strip all of that microplastic out of your water that's been stored in plastic containers and make it safer for you to drink.
J9000 asked, "Hey Sootch, a lot of my relatives believe prepping is a waste of money. So how do I explain the importance of prepping without starting an argument?"
That's the age-old question, honestly. People either get it or they don't. To me right now, with inflation, with the scarcity, even Joe Biden himself, let's go Brandon, he said, we're going to have food shortages. What's going on in Eastern Europe right now with the war and the loss of crops, with the largest fertilizer plant in the world catching on fire? Anybody that's not in inflation, prices going up, we're having logistic problems, we're having transportation problems, the gas prices have gone up,
skyrocketed.
There are so many things like that you could list out and say, listen, I'm just really concerned.
That would be my lead off. When the president of your country says there's going to be food shortages, that is, to me, that is like a huge red flag that says, hey, you might want to start prepping and putting some stuff back. The president doesn't come out every day and say there's going to be food shortages. Matter of fact, in my lifetime, that's the first time I've ever heard that. So, when the president says that, that's the time to stand up and take notice and take heed and start planning for some problems down the road.
Yeah. There's a lot out there that like we've never seen before since probably the Great Depression.
Yep.
That are signs to go, hey. So, but here's the fact. You may never talk your family into it, but that shouldn't stop you from doing what you can.
That's right.
James Fetzner asks, "Question, I have a Berkey water system. Should I stock up on my bottled water for drinking, or should I buy more freeze-dried food?"
I would probably go with the freeze-dried food.
Yeah, you've got your Berkey already.
Yep.
The one thing about bottled water, keeping it around is convenient,
but
it's not necessary. If you've got your Berkey, you can filter it out. But yeah, I would load up on food. But the other side of that is you got your Berkey. What if your water shut off? Where you're getting water, and you need to have a plan for that.
That's right. An alternate water source other than your spigot.
And a way to transport it. You may have to drive somewhere and you need to fill up buckets or something, but do you have the buckets? So that kind of goes down a rabbit hole. So think about, and this is something important to think about, these are the things I have. What are my alternative plans? What if this goes out? What if my Berkey goes out? What if my filters go out? Then what? So, you don't want to just, it's gloom and doom, all hell's breaking loose. But, having some contingency plans. And, if you've got the big Berkey, I think food would be your next bet.
Pappy Dan asks, "I live in Pennsylvania, so it's cold in the winter. Most rain catchment systems I've seen are mostly used to water gardens and shut them down in the winter. How do I set up one for year-round?" Well,
that is something a lot of people do, winterize their rain catchment systems. And it stays cold for a long time. It can be a problem. One thing for us is when it gets the temperatures get really low, it's better to go ahead and drain them. Make sure you just drain them out. And typically we have spigots, so we can just turn it on. It'll just pour out. If it gets really cold over a period of time, and maybe seal that off. But, the thing is too, is if and two, it's according to how you have it connected, but you could actually move those systems or drain those into buckets or, your plastic jugs, and then move that inside in the meantime. Have a side water source, and then winterize your system during the really cold months, and then be able to utilize that water if you needed to.
Or if you've got a root cellar, you can always put you can put some 55-gallon drums in your root cellar and drain it into your root cellar. That way you're able to store water underground, which is temperature controlled naturally, and your water will be able to keep and last without freezing.
All right.
Mitch says, someone said Berkeys have bacteria, ?
They will on the outside of the filters, but they filter through. And then what you do is you keep them clean. And, we've had Berkeys for 12 years. I mean, every day. It's in there right now. We gave our big Berkey to my mother-in-law for her to have, so she could have something. And it's just the best. It's the most convenient, the easiest, the best out there.
Well, I mean, you think about it. If you pour contaminated water into your Berkey, you're going to introduce bacteria into the Berkey on the outside of the filters. Now, like you said, it's filtering through. You're still going to have that bacteria on the outside of your filters, but yes, it will be in there on the outside of the filters until you strip the filters out, clean everything, clean the inside of the tank, and put the filters back in.
Yeah, and if you're that concerned about it, it's a great thing to maybe maintenance it more often than recommended. But I have not heard of any kind of issues with bacteria as far as getting into the water.
Alan Bryson asks, are you going to do another video about meeting your group and checking your preps?
Yeah, we've talked about it. That's a major undertaking, getting everybody together. But we're planning for this spring. Of course, it is spring, so we're planning to do something. We've been talking about it with the group, and so we're going to put together something coming up. Don't know how in depth we're going to get, but when you're dealing with a lot of people, you have to really negotiate things a little bit. But yes, we have it in the works.
Adam Crawford asks, do you think that Alexa Pure water filter is as good as the Berkey water filter?
No. Well, I haven't really messed with those specifically, but most of your Britas and all those kind of things are not all that good. I'm not sure about the Alexa. I haven't looked at
I don't have any experience with that one either. No.
Berkey's been kind of like the gold standard, but I'm sure that there are some others that are out there. I'll have to look at that up. I'm sorry I can't give you an answer on that one, but I guess I'm kind of myopic on Berkey. But some of these, like your Britas, those kind of things, that they're just kind of keep it a little clear. They're not really. It would help some, but it's not going to take out all your bacteria and stuff. But don't know about some of the other systems. Life Straws, your Catadines, you got your portable ones that are great. But they're portable, and that's not something you can.
They're not for everyday use, right?
Linda Carter asks, "Is trail mix a good staple for prepping?"
It is, but it only lasts for so long. Nuts can go rancid after a period of time. It is more stable than a lot of things, but you need to keep that highly rotated. Unless you vacuum seal it, maybe doing things like that may help.
Vacuum seal it with a desiccant pack to keep moisture out of it and keep air away from it. It's going to help it to last longer.
Yeah, oxygen absorber. Actually, that's the difference.
Or both.
Both. Okay, it's 1 o'clock
already.
It's 1 o'clock. We really do appreciate all the great questions. I hope that some of these points are helping you. Honestly, whether you're on a budget or not, some of these points are important. And we also thank Sportsman's Guide for sponsoring today's episode. You get $100 off. I did that last week. You get $20 off every $100 or more purchase. Let me do that again. $100 off.
Nope.
Golly, man. Y'all, I'm taking a nap after this.
$20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch. SOOTCH. No 00, just Sootch.
And if you join their buyers club, you get additional savings, plus you get free shipping on orders over $49. And the guys at Sportsman's Guide are great, but the military surplus is the one thing I do want to kind of recommend there. Great prices. And I mean, again, it's just things that have been tried and tested.
And get their magazine. Even if you don't buy anything from them, get their magazine and just flip through their magazine and check out all the stuff that they have. The internet's great. It's great to look at things online, but just having a hard copy magazine that you can flip through. Maybe I'm just getting old, but I love their magazine.
And we really appreciate Robbie Wheaton for being here for our entertainment. WheatonArms.com, but also the Wheaton Arms YouTube channel or Robbie Wheaton. You can find it with both. And just check it out. Again, gunsmith for over 20 years, a lot of knowledge. He's fixed a lot of my problems over the years. And just great to have him with us. Also, Sarah Mack for asking the questions and keeping us in line. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.